big dog?
What's going on, brother?
Oh, all good. How was your week?
It was good, man. It's been mildly busy. I hadn't been able to hang out and trade as much as I usually do.
You're gonna get a whole lot busier here real soon.
I know, man.
When's she due?
November 11th, I think.
You got some time. You got some time.
Yeah,
Better start making that money before the baby gets here.
that's right.
I'm
Yeah, I
just
need
kidding.
to.
I'm kidding. So shit, man. Wild week.
Hell yeah, it was. Damn sure was.
Dude, China stocks still on the move. Bank failures 2.0. I don't want to say 2.0, but round two.
Yeah,
It's just been a lot, and I love it.
yeah, dude. It's been cool. I hate I haven't done a good job of capitalizing on it.
It's all good. But anyway,
Same way with last time.
it's all good. It's
I
just
just don't really know what I'm doing with those.
we're gonna talk about it because I don't know
That's
if I
right.
know what I'm doing, but I pretend. Anyway, let's do this intro thing.
Hit it.
Okay, so I know I have a little bit more. I've traded. I feel like I traded everything this week. I
You did
literally,
good, man. You did.
well, yeah. I mean, I have no complaints, but it was just kind of I've always traded like 2, 3 tickers a day, sometimes one, but like the last month or so, it's just been like 4 or 5 plus a day. Just, I don't know. I guess when it's there, it's there, like, I don't know. I tried today. I told myself I was going to hyper focus on just a few, and I feel like I did that and did that well, but it can be tough to narrow that focus when there's just so much movement.
I swear, man, it really is.
But I know I have a little bit more to show this week than you do because I traded about everything you could trade. So I'm just going to get into a couple of mine first.
Go ahead.
And what I want to show first. See what I want to show first. Yeah, so what I want to show first. We've talked about this before. We may have done a video on it. I can't honestly remember, but like one of my favorite setups is gap and crap. There's a million different criteria or people's definition for gap and crap. I'm going to show what mine looks like, but I've told new people, like I had this one guy's like, man, how do I trade? What do I trade? Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I was like, dude, you can eat off of a gap and crap strategy. Like
Oh yeah.
it's easy to find risk levels. It's easy to find entries. It's easy to set targets based on like risk reward. So anyway, I'm going to show, this is from today. Now, granted, I kind of butchered the trade to a degree. But this right here, in my opinion, is one of the easiest setups to trade because it's easy to identify. It's easy to set risk rewards. Like, if somebody's looking to get into shorting new, I think this is a great place to start. So this for me is like A plus gap and crap. However, I kind of butchered it, as you can see here. And I'm going to say why, but I hate trading pre-market. Every time I do, I typically regret it on day ones. The only time I have real success with pre-market trades are stuff I'm setting up for swings or day two stuff. But day ones, anytime I get involved pre-market, I typically regret it. Obviously, I regretted it. But the gap stats on this, I think we're 100% like closed below open with minimal pop. So I got involved a little early. Obviously, regretted that. Full size tier, kept going, covered. So butchered this. Wish I could get away or, just not have those, but it is what it is. But gap and crap, this is a gap and crap, right? Has this huge gap in the morning. This is pre-market, huge gap. This thing gapped up like 150 to 200%, like maybe higher at some points. Huge gap. And then before open, it has this really nice like dump. Purple line is VWAP. It's one of the few indicators I keep in my charts. Huge dump. Of course, it kind of rides around the 1-200. It's one of the only other few indicators I use on my charts.
Same here.
But this is what I want to see in a gap and crap. I want to see this huge gap, and I want to see it crap out before market open. So for me, a gap and crap is this: gaps up huge, craps out before market open, and opens pretty weak in comparison to the gap. And I like to see it open quite a ways below VWAP. I don't want VWAP to be right, where it's opening. So quite a ways. This was, going from 320 to almost 380. That's a pretty good jump. That's like 20%, maybe a little more.
Oh yeah.
So that's quite a ways to go. So gap and crap, gap huge, craps out, opens weak. And I love to see the pop to VWAP within I say it in the room all the time. We have our Discord room. We put some stuff out there in the morning. I like to see that move happen in the first 30 minutes. I want to see it happen before 10. This happened in the first 10 minutes, which is even better. The sooner the better, in my opinion. Anyway, hit VWAP, hit it full size, and took some off here. I ended up taking the rest off of here. Obviously, I wish I would have held. But I had a really good trade today. I just wanted to be done. I just wanted to walk away. So I did. I took my range order off and got all out. Still like 25% trade. Like, it doesn't look like a lot, but this was nice.
Dude, that's a good looking trade.
Yeah.
25% is awesome.
Right. And this is why I like gap because it's easy to identify the pattern. It's easy to find your entry. Like entry is literally VWAP. I wish I would have added here. Didn't. I was busy with stuff. I didn't add. But to me, this is like super easy setup to get started in the shorting, in my opinion, because if you take the short at VWAP, you could literally risk 5, even 10% if you're comfortable with it above VWAP, and then look to cover it a 2-1 risk reward, 3-1, again, whatever you're comfortable with. But if you're risking 5% to make 10%, if you're risking 10 to make 20, whatever. I've done a lot of back testing on the gap and crap setups and the average, percent gain it ever eclipses VWAP. That's just using our data and discretion combined. But this was perfect. This was a perfect gap and crap setup.
I took a similar setup today, and I usually don't trade the gap and craps, but I took it today. Hey, what's up, Wealth Dean?
So he's in our room, and he's new to shorting. He's been trading for a while, new to shorting, but he's been doing well.
Oh,
Appreciate that. Yeah, that's setup, man. I wish I wouldn't have jumped early. I jumped early, but I ended up making it back. But this setup is, I've told numerous new short sellers, like, you can literally eat off this setup, because usually these gap and craps, they're not the hottest ticker because they've faded so hard before open. So not everybody has eyes on them. Usually locates are pretty cheap for the same reason, because not everybody has eyes on them. So from a risk perspective, I love this setup. The win rate, of course, is not 100%, but again, that's where your risk reward comes into play and things of that nature. But for me, I love it. That's one of my favorite setups.
Hey, well, let me show this real quick, since it kind of goes with yours. Similar trade. Let's see here. Yeah, CYTO. It is pretty small float on it, but this is one that I've traded a bunch of times, and I mean, I kind of consider this a gap and crap.
I would too, definitely.
It's not. It wasn't as big of a gap as that other one, but man, I've traded this ticker so many times, and when I saw it pop up on my scanner today, I was like, oh yeah.
So the gap stats on this, I think, were favorable too.
Yeah, it had great gap stats. That was another thing. I can't remember how many gaps. It has a ton of gaps. But
it did. It had a lot.
It always fails.
But even if you would have took that right at VWAP and risked, I don't know, 10%, you still would have. I mean, your risk reward still would have came out in a favorable manner.
Yeah, I mean, and the way that it pushed right there before VWAP, like I knew I didn't want to take it on this touch, right it open. Um, just because I mean, and that would have worked. I mean, I probably would have stopped out right here, but yeah, I got, I mean, I got all in right here, and I was pretty much just, if it would have gone any higher, that would have been it for me because I mean, you know, the built-in risk is there. And so, like I told you and everybody else in the room, I was like, "Hey, I'm just, you know, I've got stuff to do, so I'm just setting my stop loss. I'm gonna come back later and cover."
And
And
you literally did for what is this, like 30%? Got to
yeah,
be close.
yeah. I mean, and I looked at my phone at one point during the day when it was bouncing around that $1 area, that like very obvious support area. And I was like, "Oh man," I was thinking I should go ahead and cover, but I didn't.
You know me, I have a hard time sitting through 20, let alone 30, but I'm getting better.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, and it's hard for me. It's hard for me sometimes too. Like, I
It's
mean,
just
it'll.
tough. If I'm risking 5% and I'm up 20, I'm like, damn, I got a lock. I got a lock.
Oh yeah, I'm with you, man. I mean, I know they said they, you know, I've heard before. Oh, you can't go broke taking a profit, and then you know, some guys.
Well, I agree with that if you take your profit, you know, if you're red on it, right? You take your position and you're red for a little bit, and the second you get green, like you get out. Like that's a mistake.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like you can't do that or you will go broke taking a profit.
yeah. I mean, like that, yeah, because then all your losses are going to be bigger. But
Yep.
if you always do it the way you do it, you know, if you always take 20%, but
Yeah, it's
like you,
fucking 20%, man.
but
Like
you never lose more than what, like 5%.
yeah, so my stats for the last couple months has been my average winners close to 9, almost 10 now. Close to in the nines, but my average losers like 3.5.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, extrapolate that over hundreds of trades and, you know, it works out in your favor when the win rate for me is closer to mid 60s ish, something like that. But yeah, that was a good gap and crap. So I have one more gap and crap setup that I want to show. And this one's not as good as the first one I showed, or probably even the one you just showed. But I'm going to show it. I have another shot of this a little more zoomed out, but this is just so you can see the executions. Um, this one obviously didn't open as weak because it had this pop right at open. So this wasn't ideal. The reason I took it is because when it opened, it failed pretty hard, and then it popped back up barely, you know, above VWAP. So I had to take it, plus a built-in risk level like you just talked about with CYTO.
This one
So
scared the hell out of me, man. I couldn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to hit this. That halting action right at open, and I've told you,
Mhm.
man, I get terrible anxiety at open.
But
I
I
don't know
think
what it
that
is.
but we've talked about that, and my answer to you was the fact that you know that and you don't trade it is like that's how it should be.
Which I mean, I did trade, you know, CYTO today, but I made the exception because that's one that
Traded before.
I've traded it so many times, man. Like I feel pretty good about how it moves. Like the ones that you'll see me nail and it'll be good at open are ones like that. The ones that you'll see me fumble real hard are like the ones I'm not real sure about, you know. And like I said, like I told you the other day, I was wanting to trade the open yesterday, and man, my heart was beating out of my chest. I was like, I just had to get off the computer. I had to
No, that's
walk.
ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, I this was scary because of the halt, but I took it because of the VWAP pop. If it had broke above this, I'd have got out. So I was risking like what I got in at about 850, risking about 950. So I risked $1 and I ended up covering at about 550. So I risked $1 to make 3. So 3-1 risk reward on this setup. So you know, I was comfortable with it. I took it, it worked out, but I have another screenshot a little more zoomed out because this is not an ideal gap and crap. I still classified it as a gap and crap, but it's not as good as that first one I showed. But I have another one that's a little more zoomed out. So this is my Trader Sync chart. So part of the other reason I took this trade when I took it is because it actually gapped up the previous day after hours. So this whole move right here is after hours yesterday. Huge move. I don't have the dollars on here because I couldn't make it fit. But anyway, huge move. Obviously faded before after hours closed. And then it opened and it kind of did the old distribution thing. So I like seeing distribution in pre-market, which is what I saw here. And again, this is where data comes into play, but data speaks to me historically that, when these things do this move after hours, when the gap is created after hours versus pre-market, they typically don't fare as well the next day. So that was something else that influenced that was a piece of confluence, I guess, if you will. So the data plus the VWAP plus the built-in risk. I mean, if it had broke through that right there, I'd have been done, because that level here, the level here, like, it was a nice level. So it was kind of a confluence trade. It worked out. I classified it as a gap and trap.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was nice,
so, like,
man.
That's what we look for, right? Like, we're looking for confluence, like multiple reasons to be right and just a couple reasons why we could be wrong.
Right.
So I had to take it. I had to take that. Plus the range on that was stupid. Like, that ticker had range.
Yeah, it really did, man. And I'm always kicking myself when I don't take those, but
well, that's just where you know yourself. You don't trade well in the first 10 minutes and you avoid it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't trade much midday because I freaking suck at it.
And I just feel like I'm usually better midday, but I want to get better at just the morning so that way I can leave more. Like,
like I do. Take off at noon. I have a problem. Yeah, and it, I love it. Like, I love sometimes leaving early. Sometimes it comes back to bite me because there's a perfect para, but I'm not gonna sit here all day every day. I can't do it. But speaking of midday, so the only thing I really like trade midday that is paras. I love parabolics, midday parabolics. So this here, which,
oh yeah, this was sick.
Well, you and I talked about this. I mean, I don't usually do very well with holding this long. I also got a little aggressive with the old soldier ad here. But anyway, this was a midday parabolic. I didn't trade it here. And to be honest, this was from, I think, Wednesday. I don't remember why I didn't trade it here. It may have been because I was trading other stuff. But I wasn't paying attention to it here, which, I guess you could have caught it and maybe it worked out, whatever. But I didn't catch it in this area. Obviously it ramped back up and triggered another para, and this time I hit it and it fell down, and I was kicking myself that I didn't cover here because it halted up and then huge gap. I was pretty uncomfortable when this move happens. I was like, shit, like, cover, shorting from here and covering here, I was up like 30%. And what, 9 out of 10 times I'm taking that. Easy. I didn't take it. I didn't cover, pop back up. But it still kept struggling with just above that level that I was watching. And I have a picture of the level I'm going to show. But anyway, I soldier at it. I doubled up because I was feeling good about the fact that it was wicking above these levels. Now, you and I talked about this. This was a super low float. This was what, 500K float?
Oh, yeah.
So with the 500K float, high risk, high reward. My stop was literally 1405. I mean, if it had hit 1405, I'd have been out. So I can sit here and say I got a little bit lucky because it didn't hit 1405. But when it got wicky above here, anyway, I soldier at it, and then it, of course, crashed. So full transparency, I tried to cover right here, and I didn't get executed. I got a little scared, halted down, and then when it halted down and opened, it just proceeded just to tank. So I didn't cover. But then I got nervous again because I hate after hours trading. I think I was talking to you during this. I think you and I were texting.
Yeah. You were like,
And
man, this thing halted right into close.
Yep. And I was nervous as shit because I was like, this thing's gonna unhalt after hours and it's gonna run to like 11, and I'm not gonna be able to get executed because that's happened to me before. And I was like, I'm gonna get back all these gains. Well, anyway, fortunately, I was able to get out after hours, but I still have nightmares about after hours trading. I have the worst time with it. Like, I hate it so much. So this was my biggest percent gain all year. 68% is what this came out to.
Hell yeah.
So, I'm not one to hold for huge percent gains. I usually 20-30% I'm taking it, but I tried to get out of VWAP, didn't get out. Obviously ended up working out. He said, was your size smaller? Is that why you didn't cover before the pop? Before the pop. Like, talking about where I added?
Yeah.
Probably.
Why didn't you cover when you were at the initial?
I know.
30%?
So I was full size. So when I say soldier ad, that's like doubling up. So with pairs, I usually go full size on pairs in one go, because usually on pairs it's hard to scale in because you get one shot and it's usually fast. So I usually try to full size into most pairs. You do the same for the most part, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like pairs, they can be so quick, so it's hard to quote unquote scale in or try to get multiple entries. So I was full size on that, and that's why I was kicking myself when it died 30% and I didn't cover. So the soldier ad means I doubled up. I doubled my position, and if it went, that's why my stop was so tight. My stop was 1405 because I soldier added and had a bigger position than I was anticipating. But
on a really small float.
Yep. Wow, your stop just made it. Yeah, my stop was literally 1405, and I told sellers before this whole thing started, if it hit 1405, I'd have been out, because it could have went from 1405 to 15 in a blink. So nano floats can skip up, they can skip down. Some guys don't even trade. I used to not trade sub 5 mil, then I lowered it to sub 3 mil, then I lowered it to sub 1 mil. But I've kind of, as time goes on and you trade more and more of them, I've gotten more comfortable. But some guys still refuse to trade them. And to be honest, this was not huge size, because with nano floats, I'm not taking huge size. So yeah, he said, no, it wasn't huge size, to be honest with you. Each arrow was 250 shares or something like that. This was on Thursday. Not a lot of size on this. I'm afraid to take a lot of size on nano floats. I won't take a lot of size on nano floats, because if this would have ripped up to 1405 and my stop triggered, I could have been slipped to 1440 easy.
And paras are like my favorite thing. Like I usually hit them with as big of a size as I can. I mean, not like all in or anything, but as big of size as I'm comfortable with. But
yeah, I sized down on this a little more than I would most pairs because of the float. And this was a higher price para. Most paras we see aren't in the teens. Most paras we see are under $10.
I had
different.
I had a big ass win last year on a it was like a $12 or $13 para. It was in the middle of the day. It was like LFLY or something like that.
I remember that.
Yeah, dude, I hit it with like 5,000 shares at like whatever it was, like $14, and it went to like 7 or 6. It was like a 15 grand win.
Yeah, this wasn't 15. This was solid, right? Like, I think I had 250 or 350 shares on each one, so between 500 and 600 shares, and it still dropped 7 points. This was solid. Maybe even more. I don't remember anymore, but nice win. But that's the thing. You can have, like, you and I were talking about this earlier. I'm going to go off on a tangent real quick.
No, go ahead. I want you to.
You and I were talking about this earlier. Trading can freaking disconnect you so much from real world money.
Hell
right?
Yeah, man.
Like, what's a good paying job? How much per hour? What's a great fucking... I shouldn't cuss so much. Can't help it. What's a good paying job?
I mean, in Tuscaloosa, where I live, man, like, one of my buddies works for the university, and I mean, he does pretty well, and I think he makes close to $40 an hour. Like
So
I
you
said,
said 40 and Ben said 50. I agree with both of you.
yeah. I mean,
Pharmacists.
it depends on where you live. Here, and I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it
It's gotten
does.
expensive to live here, but yeah, I mean,
So, I used to work in corporate America. I worked with a lot of pharmacists and they'd make 60, 65 bucks an hour, right? Good money, great money, 130 grand a year on that type of money.
oh yeah,
So this is where we get so disconnected. But still 46 an hour is great money.
oh
Like,
yeah, it is.
so that's where we get so disconnected, right? As a pharmacist making 46 an hour, that's 120, 130 grand a year, rough, give or take. Great money. But in trading, we get so disconnected because literally in minutes, like HCDI is a great example, like within an hour, right? Even if you would have had 100 shares, just 100 shares and taken that same exact trade in an hour, you could have made 600-700 bucks. But in the trading community, that's like laughed at. That's like, that's nothing. Well, it can go both ways too. Obviously, you can also quickly lose 600 or 700 bucks. But
Yeah, I mean,
it's just,
I quickly lose $600 or $700 all the time.
yeah. But that's just where we've become. I'm serious. Like, it makes you disconnected from
I know
money. Like,
it does, and it sucks because it's like I know you withdraw like every month, man, but I've started withdrawing a lot more because I used to not as much.
Brian Lee's the one that got me doing that. He put a big old thread out there about withdrawing and paying yourself and keeping the money real, because otherwise you're just trading numbers on a screen and you get super disconnected.
You do, man. You really do, and it like it's
Dude, an HCDI 50 bucks was 2 seconds in one direction or the other. Like, it's so fast.
exactly.
We just get so disconnected. So, like, that's the type of thing you just got to keep in perspective. Like, even if you have 100 shares on a trade like that and you risk 100 bucks, like, you could make 200, 300, 400, 500, whatever. I'm not trying to spend, what I'm trying to say.
I mean,
money, you just get disconnected from it super easy, and it's dangerous. It can be dangerous. But anyway, back to
really
the topic.
it really can be,
Oh,
man.
for sure. Like, but anyway, HCDI, this was the para. This is the daily chart for the para. This was the day it went parabolic. So my whole thesis for 14 and that area holding up was this yellow line. This yellow line is where it's currently trading, so you can ignore that. But this yellow line, it struggled to break through here. It struggled to break through here, and me, like, I love the daily levels with volume, because this tells me that there were a ton of people on this day that are bagged. And they're bagged tough. It went down. That if they bought it up in here, they're bagged and they're looking for the first opportunity to get out. So they finally had an opportunity to get out, and every time it approached these levels, they were selling it hard. So that's why I like daily levels with volume. If I don't see volume on daily levels, especially one lone outlier daily level like this without volume, I don't really get that excited. That's just me. That's just my style. But
I agree with you, man. The more I've learned about it, and the more that we've tracked it and looked at it, it's so true. I mean,
bag holders, man, it's a bag holder level all day.
And even when I got bagged on stocks, when I was first starting out, I would have never let my buying power be held up for months like this, but
most do, though. That's the thing.
Oh, I know several people, like, right now, just people that I know in day-to-day life that are like still holding certain stocks or
AMC,
or just other stuff that I don't know if anybody'd admit to still holding AMC. But
well, I shorted Mulan today on the reverse split because people are still bag holding that piece of shit. Anyway, I couldn't help it. Reverse splits, shorting them on the day one has been working very well. So I don't have a chart of that, but I can tell you right now, I shorted Mulan on today, reverse split day, and I want to hold till sub $1.
Maybe we can get Charles on one day to talk about his reverse split strategy, because he kills it with it. He's like Elkwood with that shit, man. Like,
dude, I love it.
Dude, he'll hold it till they delist.
I won't hold it till they delist. I'll hold Mulan though till it goes sub $1, which shit might happen before the end of the week. That company is trash. But anyway, do you have another chart you want to show before I show my last one?
Yeah, let me show this one. This was the only other day trade I had this week. You know, I had two little swing trades from last night that I told you about, but I
The
don't usually.
banks.
Yeah, man. That was some risky business. It's just a couple hundred shares, but
We've talked about that. It's fun. Trading should be fun, at least a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah, man. I mean, I like to have a little bit of fun. I don't care if people will be like, oh, it shouldn't be fun. You should just come in and do it. Like, man, nah, I love this shit. That's why I do it.
Yup.
But yeah. So GDC, China name.
China names were crazy this whole week. What they start Friday? Last week? I think they started Friday with top and went all through this week basically.
Yeah, man. I mean, and people can say what they want. I'll trade a China name. I don't give a damn.
Shit, I will trade a China name all day long. I've caught some of those liquidations in the past. It's been a long time since I've caught one. I didn't catch top today, but I'll trade a China name. I don't give a damn.
I don't know if I've ever caught one of those liquidations, just because that's not usually my style of shorting. Like those floor break, like multi-day floor break type. It's not something I look for, but I need to start looking for them because, man, they pay huge.
Yeah, now I missed top today because I walked early, and I'll show why I walked early here in a minute. But it is what it is. I missed it. I didn't think today was going to be the day. I thought they were going to run it up. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, man, I did too. I knew that it was going to be when everybody was least expecting it, though.
Always is.
But so yeah, dude, I shorted this one here, and I've been trying to add into a winner when it's working. Sometimes I don't, but
I suck at that, man.
I do too, because I mean, this really wasn't the best spot to short. I just kind of thought it was like a fake breakout, which really this would have worked good. I mean, because I was up pretty good right here. I used to cover a little bit faster, but I've just gotten into this mode of like trying to get like huge home runs all the time, and I really shouldn't.
Right.
But this ended up working out. I covered here, and this was a little loss actually because I added here a good bit, and so I had orders sitting up here to short.
Oh, I remember you telling me about this. You didn't get executed.
Didn't get executed
because we were talking. I showed you my chart and vice versa. Because I got executed.
Yeah, I was like, how the hell did you get executed? I had limit orders sitting, but they didn't get executed. And so luckily I was able to get in some here, and I just got it all because I was like, that's it. This thing ended up going way lower than this. Like it went down like sub 5, I think. But
this was on Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember watching, because I traded this too, and I remember watching this, and this thing faded hard in the day, and I was like, because it's fading, top is gonna fade. Well, top didn't. I took a loss on top yesterday, thinking it was gonna do what this did, and it did not.
This one, top, and that other China name that was popular did not fade. What was it?
iLag, HKD. There were so many. XIN.
Wasn't that one?
Huddy.
No.
I don't know. There was so many China names.
Well, anyway.
matter. You got a question. How do you structure your covers into flushes?
Okay. So yeah, that's a good question. Trying to remember where this. Let me pull up a chart. I'll tell you what I was thinking, because this one was a little bit different.
Yeah, these China names were all over the place. I can tell you, for me personally, like, I didn't hold the China names very long. I will trade a China name, but I ain't gonna hold it for an all-day fade. I just didn't trust them any further than I could throw them.
Yeah,
they're sketchy as shit. You traded it well. Like I've had success this week with the China names minus top. Yesterday I took a loss on top, but GDC worked out. SNTG was a China name that I traded that worked out.
Okay, so here's what I was thinking yesterday. That thing was like by the time it was below VWAP, it was already about to breach the 5-minute 200. So I was thinking, I mean, what if they just liquidate this thing? You know what I mean? Like, because we've seen it happen. Which I caught one. Well, I say I caught one. I had a really good win, and I don't even like to talk about it because I know a lot of people got destroyed on it on ILAG last year. I shorted it, but I didn't know it was one that I didn't know the news or that it was supposed to be liquidation day, but similar deal like this. It was below or like the 1-200 was around here, which is usually like a cover target for me on like a parabolic move. And so really it was very discretionary on the covers on here. And I was just taking off little pieces at a time. And volume never really came back in. So
no, it didn't.
I wasn't that worried. Like it was a little bit, which I mean, I don't know. Top was kind of illiquid too. So this was just very discretionary, just me watching it. I got lucky on that cover. And then I covered most of it into here and just held a little lotto piece here. And I was like, all right, I'm done. This was like, what's that? 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon here.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, whatever. I'm done with it. And then of course, it faded even harder, like down to sub 4, I believe.
Yeah, this thing faded hard. That's what made me think top was gonna. Anyway,
but to answer your question on the covers, on one like this, it was very discretionary. When I saw how hard it fell through VWAP, I wanted to try to get all I could out of it, but that was also like a very sharp move down, and I was like, oh man, like back when I used to long a lot of like just have a long strategy, I would have been trying to long something like that just for a bounce, and really all it is just kind of like intuition on that, because I used to just completely discretionarily trade stuff like that on the long side. Also, the 1 minute RSI got really low right here, so that's something else I'll use for covers every now and then. But if the RSI gets really low, but it's still way above the 1-200, I'm probably not covering any usually on like a para intraday or a gapper or something. I feel like VWAP's not as strong of support it doesn't bounce off VWAP on stuff like this as much as it does 1-200.
I like VWAP more on the day ones than I do.
Yeah, But the 1-200, like I said, wasn't on this, so this was a little bit different. This was just a lot different trade. I just it was very, very discretionary. I thought, fake breakout, add into this little pop, didn't work. After this huge stuff move, though, I was pretty confident in it.
Ben's gonna make your head big.
Nice intuition. Oh, man.
Oh, he's wealthy. Was it LXEH, the other ticker you were talking about? He said he piked it hard. I remember your trade on LXEH. You didn't pike it that hard. You can't stick on the China names all day. I don't blame you for covering. Your trade was solid.
Yeah,
I remember he posted in the room.
I like to hold stuff, hold a big piece like all day. I usually don't have this many covers, and it's usually not that quick either. But that's how it was for this one. I didn't want to. I was cool with holding some with the volume being this low. Like, I mean, it was like immediately the volume just died.
Yep.
But
it was good. It was good reads. It was good reads.
Yeah, man, I felt good about it. But it's not like necessarily the usual way I play them, I guess you could say. So this was a little different. But typically, I'm covering the 1-200. If not all, then a good portion.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you have more covers on this ticker because this is the one ticker that day you were hyper focused on instead of trading like 3 or 4 things?
That might have been it.
Because I feel like that's why I feel like I'm trying to, like I when we started this live thing, I was like, I've traded every damn thing under the sun this week, last week, really the whole month. But today I tried to hyper focus on 2 or 3 tickers and really just zone in, pros and cons. But it is time.
Definitely pros and cons with that.
Mm-hmm. So we got to talk about the bank stocks.
Oh yeah, you killed them, man.
Well, okay. So my best trade of the year was SIVB back in March when that whole crash happened. It was my best day of the year. It was SIVB, Wall, PACW, all those just died. And I traded all of them. The biggest bulk of that gain was easily SIVB. So this was my Wall trade yesterday. So I entered here thinking, it had staggered around all day, but the headlines kept coming in. This was the FOMC day. This is when Jerome Powell spoke, and he was talking about bank stocks. He was talking about the rate hikes, and the stuff he was saying just didn't add a lot of confidence in banks, right? It just wasn't great. So I took a position. It had cracked below VWAP, the 1-200. And my exit was going to be a break of the 32 level. Never broke above. Well, going into close, it closed weak. And I remember telling you this. I think I said, I was like, I don't want to swing it. It's not closing weak enough, whatever. And I'm not one to swing a lot of stuff here and there with certain criteria, but I didn't swing it. So what is this? An hour after I cover, hour and 10 minutes, bottom falls out. Like, this would have been a massive win.
Oh yeah.
And I wouldn't have held through this bounce. The second it started curling, I'd have covered immediately in the 21s, easily. But this would have been huge. And I was pretty pissed. I was a little salty, a little tilted. I was not a happy camper yesterday. I mean, I wasn't super mad about it. Well, I wasn't. Right? Like, I don't know. I talked to you. Was I mad? I was a little mad, probably.
You remember I texted you on Tuesday, I think it was, and I was like, hey, let's short WAL full buying power tomorrow.
And if we would have, look what would have happened. But anyway, I covered, right? I covered. Wasn't my thing to hold overnight. I was all out. So I was pretty pissed. Well, then today, offered another opportunity. And I don't do a lot of pre-market trading. I think a lot of people know that. Well, today I got involved pre-market because I was like, if this thing opens, the news was still bad, right? There was 0 headlines to restore confidence in the banks. They were still incredibly weak. So it started grinding up, cracked a little bit. I took a position here. Easy to get size on something like this in pre-market, like not a problem. Anyway, chopped around. And this was something at this point, because of what happened yesterday, I was intending to swing if it closed even slightly weak because I was pissed I missed the first move. Well, when it opened, we got the nice fade. And then the headline came out. And the headline was something like, Wall is, Western Alliance is exploring a buyout option or whatever they said. And when that headline came out, holy shit. The freaking bottom fell out. And I've put in the room a couple times this week. Like, I've been stalking Wall. I've been stalking PACW. Like, I've been keeping these on watch all week. Anyway, took the position, cracked huge. I tried to get ads right in here, but it was so fast. Like, literally when it unhalted, this was like 10 seconds. Halted again. Unhalted, 10 seconds. Halted again. Then finally in this area, some volume comes in and you have time to get some ads. This was greedy as shit. To be honest, this was dumb. Like, it worked out, but like, this was greedy. I thought it was going to go sub 10 though. So I added heavy. And then when that volume stayed hard, and then the should say stayed hard, stayed heavy, it it's like it bounced pretty hard, and I ended up covering all because the LU that trigger halt level, the LULD that we watch, we watch those levels pretty hard,
Oh
and
yeah.
it was creeping up on that LULD, and I did not want to even mess with the LULD level. So even when it started approaching that LULD level, I covered all out. Boom. And this was the biggest win I've had since SIVB. What he said, I got lucky and caught top with small size. Bless you, Ricky. Like, I wish I would have, because me and Sellers were saying like shorting that green to red move would have been clutch. But this is why I walked early. I walked early because of this. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, dude, that was a banger ass trade.
Yeah, and this right here, I tried to reshort because I covered all, right? I'm all out. And then when it unhalted, there was, I don't know if you weren't at your screen today when this happened, were you, or were you?
No, I wasn't, unfortunately.
Okay. So when this unhalted, there was no indication that DOS was showing, a lot of times it shows the implied open. There was no implied open. And then when this thing opened at almost 18, I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. So I reshorted thinking this was a crazy gap up. It's going to die back down. Well, it opened and it spiked up like quick. And I de-risked half. So I hit my cover 50% button, de-risked, and then it slammed back down and halted with news pending. And I was stuck in that news pending halt with like a couple hundred shares or 150, not much at all. This was lotto size, so to speak. Anyway, it unhalted and I instantly covered. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. I walked, missed the whole top liquidation, which whatever. But this, like, I'm putting this on the fridge.
Yeah, dude, that thing was sick.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Yep. Boom.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yep. Yeah, if you guys, do you show it?
So, yep. Ricky asked where you can get access to the room. Yep, there it is. It's free. There's no charges. There's no nothing. We just talk about tickers and
have
tools
a good time. And cut up.
Yeah, man. We try to share information amongst ourselves, and there's some killers in there. There's some other traders in there that have been trading for a while that are pretty damn good at what they do.
Yeah, man. Like I was talking about Charles, man.
Momo's in there.
Momo's really.
Ryan's in there. There's a lot of good in there.
Thiz.
We chop it up. You damn right we do.
Wealth Dean, all the guys.
But this was a bigger percent gain than SIVB, but I had more size on SIVB. That was a little bit different than this. This was a little more rumor based. SIVB was, no, we're failing. This was a headline of they're exploring buyout options. So I didn't hit it as heavy as I did SIVB. But this was still ridiculous. I, of course, kind of wish I could take away these little greedy things here, but in the grand scheme of things, like, I don't care.
Man, in the moment though, it's hard not to sometimes.
I mean, this gap up on that halt, I was like, dude, this is a gift. I was like, and then yeah, of course, if I'd have held through that, I could have got $4 more a share, but it is whatever. I don't care.
I mean, like what Madaz, like he was saying about that, crazy.
Yeah, MKD when it halted down like 50%, and then it halted up 200%, and he took a huge loss because of the news. So you never know. Like I'm not one that. I told you this, even though it was 150 shares or 200 shares or whatever I had in that little, news pending halt. Like, I think I told you, I was like, worst case scenario, it goes back to the opening level, right? Because the rumor was false. It goes back to the opening level. No big deal. Yeah, I mean, if it weren't a bank thing and it was something else and it could have gapped up to 50 or 30 or 40, like, yeah, that would have negated a huge chunk of this. Or even all of it, depending on the halt up. But this wasn't bad. This was just nerve-wracking. But
Oh yeah.
Shit,
Oh
it's been
yeah.
a freaking week. That much I know.
It has, man.
Like, I will trade the China stocks. I will trade the bank stocks. Back in March, it was like 2 weeks. I remember talking to some guys on Twitter for like 2 weeks. I didn't even trade day ones, day twos. It was all bank stocks and all the stuff around it. Like, I don't know, but that's where I like being discretionary. I can't imagine being solely systematic and missing out on moves like we just talked about. Like, and I know to each their own, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Some guys just stick to their systems, stick to what they know. There's 1,000 ways to cut the pie. And I no disrespect to anybody that does that because sometimes that keeps you safe. Like pros and cons again. But I want to trade that shit.
I do too, man. And you know, I like to trade a lot of stuff.
But the
I like,
bank stocks have made my year thus far. If I were to probably go into my trader sync and look at my percent profit, I guarantee you the bank stocks are shit, 60, 70% of it. Guaranteed.
oh yeah,
Easy.
yeah.
Easy. Like SIVB, PACW, Wall, and FHC. I didn't even trade PACW today. I didn't even trade FHC today. But back in March when all the banks were failing, I traded all of them in sympathy. Like,
And I traded FRC. I had a couple pretty good wins on them. They weren't as good as yours
but
by
you
any
bought the
means.
you is this when your dip buy?
Which one? You talking about you talking
The
about
ones
last night?
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you
no,
talking
I
about
mean,
back in March?
yeah, dude. When I shorted FRC and then I just held it into after hours and it was some kind of news. I'm trying to remember what it was. Like some bad news came out and it tanked like crazy hard. That was a pretty solid win. You remember that?
I do remember that because again, I don't hold for after hours. So I bet I traded that same ticker, but I bet I covered end of day and you probably caught an additional 30% after hours or something crazy.
Well, it like came all the way back to where I got in at. So I was like, oh shit, man. I was like, I'm holding it into after hours. Not I mean, and that doesn't always work, you know, especially if it was something like top where I took a nearly a max loss on it right at the end of the day. That wouldn't work. But
True.
I mean, and I don't think max losses. I don't think a broker max loss sometimes like might not go through in after hours.
I could tell you with Cobra. Well, I can't tell you with Cobra. I've never taken a max loss with Cobra. I can tell you with Trade Zero, they don't. There's no way they do. I think I've seen people talk about with Cobra, they don't. After hours pre-market, you're shit out of luck. I
Yeah,
remember
dude.
when I had Center Point, that wasn't a thing. I remember when I had Trade Zero, that wasn't a thing. I'm sure with Cobra, it's not a thing. I think that's why Top annihilated so many people. Is if you had a broker max loss on Top, but it did what it did after hours, your broker is not going to get you out. So
Yeah. I mean they're not trying to work after hours either.
yeah, you're shit out of luck. You can't mark it out. You can't mark it out. And your broker max loss. I've never been broker max lost without it being a market order ever. Any max loss and I've had max losses. I had one back in I think it was back in March, right before the bank madness happened. I think I took a max loss a week before the bank stocks.
I've had
And it's always been a market out. So you can't mark it out after hours. So you're screwed.
You're talking about when the broker like gets you out, because I shorted a micro float a couple months ago and it was like an instantaneous max loss. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember what ticker it was. I mean, it was running crazy hard and I shorted it like right above the pre-market level and
Just ripped.
I mean, yeah, it was like instantaneous. It like just immediately max lost me out. But yeah, and then you get the email.
Yep. Dreaded email. It happens. Keeps you safe from yourself because, like I said, I took a max loss in March. I think right before the bank stocks. But the beauty of that whole scenario, not to go off on a tangent, because I know we're already in an hour, but took a max loss in March. But the max loss kept me in the game. So I could trade the bank stocks literally like a week later and had the trade of the year for me. So that max loss kept me in the game. so I could trade the bank stocks. I literally think it was a week later, maybe 2,
Yep.
whatever. So the max loss protects you from you, keeps you in the game, because sometimes you just get tilted. And my last ticker that I took a max L on was straight up tilt. I had like 50 executions on that thing. It was gross. I put it on
remember that
Twitter.
day.
I think we talked about it on here. We did. We have a thing somewhere in our YouTube. I put my max loss out there and talked about it. It was crazy. But if I had not had a max loss on there, I'd have kept trading it. I'd have grown the loss. And who knows if I'd have traded on the day of the bank stock. So protects you from you. I recommend it for everybody. Always, whether you're seasoned, new, whether you have a small account, big account, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty much every broker's got it.
Yep,
Like-
even Trade Zero has it. Like, and if they don't have it, like, damn, man, you got to be disciplined, and that's easier said than done. But you
Oh,
got to
man,
be.
Yeah,
you
I have to
gotta
have it.
be.
I'll lose control.
Yeah, like I said, that day I took my max loss. If it wouldn't have been for Cobra, I'd have took a bigger loss.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, like I said, I know myself. I will lose control.
All right. Do you have any other chart? I don't have any other charts. You got any other charts?
No, man, that's it.
We diced it up. We chopped it up. We answered questions. There's no other questions, I don't think, that are unanswered. Let me make sure. I think we're good. We put the access to the room. All right. We put the link here. In case that doesn't work for you, I'll put the link in the description too when this is posted, just in case. But we'll put the link in the description for the room. And that should work, worst case scenario. If not, you see our Twitter handles below our names. DM either one of us, and we can DM you back if you're on Twitter. But if not, we'll put a comment in the video. If that absolutely doesn't work, then comment on the video and we will work it out. But we'll get you in there one way or the other.
That's right.
But I think that's it. Right? I'm good. You good?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Fucking A. Excuse my language. I don't think I'm going to trade tomorrow, by the way. I'm pretty positive I'm going to take the day off and like do anything else because today was crazy and I just think I want a 3-day weekend.
It's smart. You're a smart man. And I'm probably definitely trading tomorrow.
I don't know yet. We'll see. I might trade the open for like an hour and then jet. I love the open. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all that stopped in, commented, all that good stuff. Like, seriously, appreciate each and every one of you.
Yeah, really. We really do.
Yeah, Ben, appreciate you.
Thanks,
Ricky,
Ben.
appreciate you. Oh, you're in. Okay, good. All right, so you're in the room.
Awesome.
I don't have to. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, appreciate all of you. Same old, right? Like, comment, subscribe, share, etc. We enjoy this. We hope somebody out there gets some enjoyment out of it, not just ourselves. But it's fun, man. I like it.
Oh, I do too.
Anyway, all right. I'm gonna cut it. I'll holler at you in the morning. I'm gonna trade in the morning. Who am I kidding? At least the open.
That's right.
Just the open. I might take off after that. But I'll anyway. All right. Holler at you in the morning. Appreciate all y'all that stopped by. And with that, peace.
Peace.